Parmigianino, a name that sounds like a whisper of elegance, yet his paintings shout with deliberate distortion. Born Francesco Mazzola in Parma, he became the face of Italian Mannerism, a movement that prized style and invention over classical restraint. Look at that elongated neck, that daring foreshortening, the playful proportions that make saints and sitters appear as if seen in a dream. In his hands, the human body could stretch, the mirror could curve reality, and a Madonna could be both tender and disquieting. We'll trace the artist's journey, the precocious youth sketching in Parma, the luminous portraits that pinned fashion and identity to canvas, the small, jewel-like mythological paintings, and the unfinished projects that became part of his myth. Along the way, we'll linger on his masterpieces, the technical tricks of his studio, and the controversies that shadowed his short life. Stay with me. Parmigiano's world is refined, strange, and endlessly beguiling. Before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps us keep creating more educational videos like this one. Francesco Mazzola was born in Parma in 1503 into a family of modest means. Early on, he adopted the name Parmigianino, the little one from Parma, and showed a precocious talent for drawing. He trained in his native city, absorbing Lombard and Florentine practice, and by his late teens was producing finished paintings that bore the mark of an inventive mind. Portraits of patrons and private devotional images brought him notice, compositions where line and elegance mattered as much as color. His travels and commissions took him to Rome, where exposure to high Renaissance art fed his imagination, and back to Parma, where he later undertook ambitious decorative schemes. Even in these early works, you can see two promises that defined his career: flawless draftsmanship and a willingness to bend anatomy and scale for expressive ends. These were not casual distortions. They were calculated moves to create a new visual poetry. No single work captures Parmigianino's blend of bravura and playfulness better than his self-portrait in a convex mirror. Painted when he was very young, the tiny disc is a technical tour de force. He painted his own reflection as seen in a curved surface, compressing space and bending perspective. The result is at once intimate and uncanny, the face rendered with meticulous brushwork, the hands and the round frame announcing a painter obsessed with perception. Scholars still marvel at the precision, the way light skims the cheek, the confident hatch marks, the way a small surface contains so much observation. Beyond technical showmanship, the portrait reveals Parmigianino's self-awareness. He presents himself as both artist and virtuoso, someone who understands art as an arena for invention. This little mirror painting influenced later artists and remains a highlight of Renaissance experimentation with optics and self-image. Then there's the work that most people think of first, the Madonna with the long neck. Here, Parmigianino pushes proportion to an almost perverse elegance. The Virgin's neck swans upward like a column. The Christ child becomes a small, almost fragile figure across her lap. A mysterious, out-of-scale column and a tiny attendant make the space ambiguous. Critics and admirers have argued for centuries about what Parmigianino intended: a formal experiment, a theological statement, a deliberate provocation. Notice the porcelain skin, the long tapering fingers, the delicate drapery that flows like music. The painting's unfinished areas, where the floor or background remain tentative, only add to the sense of intentional artifice. In the Madonna with the long neck, Parmigianino converts graceful distortion into spiritual lyricism. He shows that beauty can be an idea as much as a faithful description, and that a painter's hand can rewrite the rules of the visible world. Portraiture was another arena where Parmigianino excelled. His sitters are elegant, fashionably dressed, and often slightly aloof, a mirror of elite taste in early 16th century Italy. Works like Antea capture not only a face but an attitude, a poised, enigmatic woman whose garments and accessories speak as loudly as her expression. The so-called Turkish slave, or La Schiava Turca, shows his fascination with exotic costume and texture, feathers, furs, and shining fabric rendered with a jeweler's attention. Male portraits, from nobles to younger men, reveal a similar sensitivity to character. Hands, metals, collars, the tilt of a head, all precisely calibrated. In these canvases, the elongated proportions are subtler but still present. Parmigianino stylizes to flatter, to idealize, and to make the sitter appear suspended in an atmosphere of refined distinction. For patrons, his portraits were a promise of immortality, polished and artful. Beyond portraits and singular devotional panels, Parmigianino tackled larger religious subjects. The mystic marriage of St. Catherine is a triumph of compositional invention. The Christ child placing a ring upon Catherine's finger, the Virgin's calm composure, the compact grouping of figures, all demonstrate his skill at organizing narrative within elegant, compressed space. He often reduced figures to slender lyrical forms, emphasizing line over bulk. In altarpieces and devotional pictures, he balanced grace with solemnity, and even when his proportions were stretched, the spiritual core remained clear. Some works reveal traces of his uncompleted projects. Others survive primarily in engravings and copies. These prints spread his ideas across Europe, helping to define a Mannerist vocabulary of stylized elegance and emotional restraint. Parmigianino also painted mythological scenes and small cabinet paintings, intimate, highly finished pieces intended for private enjoyment. Cupid Carving His Bow is a charming example. The youth alone, delicately modeled, engaged in a quiet, almost domestic action. Such subjects allowed Parmigianino to explore beauty, youth, and erotic suggestion within controlled compositions. His smaller works show the same fastidious draftsmanship as his larger commissions, often with a playful twist, a tilted head, an extended limb, or a compact jewel-like color palette. These paintings circulated among connoisseurs and collectors, helping to cement Parmigianino's reputation as an artist of refined taste and technical brilliance. What, then, is Parmigianino's style? Often it's described under the umbrella of Mannerism, a shift away from high Renaissance balance toward elegance, complexity, and deliberate artifice. Line dominates, contours are refined, gestures elongated, and surfaces polished. He loved optical games and distortions, as we see in his convex mirror self-portrait and in the way he manipulates space in the Madonna with the long neck. Technically, he was a master draughtsman. His drawings reveal a nimble hand and a love of ornamental detail. Yet his life was not without turbulence. Unfinished commissions, financial pressures, and at times a reputation for being difficult. Still, his influence traveled far. Later painters and printmakers borrowed his sensibility, and his experiments with proportion and perspective helped expand the possibilities of pictorial invention. Parmigianino died young in 1540, but his legacy is larger than his years. He taught us that beauty can be a deliberate construction, that a neck or a hand can carry as much meaning as a face, and that technical daring can be a vehicle for poetic expression. Whether in a tiny convex mirror or a monumental Madonna, his work invites us to look twice, to admire technique, to feel slightly unsettled, and to delight in invention. If today you find yourself drawn to elongated line, impossible grace, or paintings that challenge proportion for the sake of poetry, you're feeling Parmigianino's influence. Explore his portraits, his mythologies, and his devotional pieces in museums and online. Each painting is an argument for why art should surprise as much as it consoles. Thank you for joining this look at Parmigianino. If you enjoyed this journey, consider diving deeper into his drawings and prints. They are where many of his secret experiments live on.